So you have a path to God through synagogue. My family, while Jewish, was always committedly atheist. And I figured if I was ever going to figure out what the universe was, probably reading differential geometry rather than Hebrew was the way to find God in his original language. So I thought I would try to figure out how physics unifies. And in the process of that, I responded to a call from the scientific community that said that we were going to have a massive shortage of scientists and engineers back in the 1980s, and that the job prospects were going to be limitless and very well remunerated. What happened, in fact, is that we had a disaster. And in trying to figure out why the golden era immediately disappeared in the early 1990s, I discovered that there had been a conspiracy in the National Academy of Sciences, the National Science Foundation, the Policy Research and Analysis Division, and the Government University Industry Research Roundtable, all inside of the National Academy complex and the National Science Board. What shocked me was that they were, in fact, trying to figure out how to avoid letting the free market determine the salaries of scientists and engineers and letting them rise to bring the needed Americans into the STEM sector. And so when I was the person who discovered a secret study from 1986, studying how to, in fact, lower the wages of Americans by flooding the market with foreign scientists and engineers, I couldn't believe it. I had always thought that immigration was basically a pure positive. I was excited, as all of us are, that we live in such a vibrant nation of immigrants. And then to find out that the very people who were supposed to be guarding the national science endeavor were the ones who were stabbing it in the back. It was like finding an Agatha Christie whodunit where it was Murder on the Orient Express and everyone had a hand in pushing the knife in. So that broke trust to such a remarkable extent that I ended up testifying in front of, or presenting in front of the National Academy of Sciences 4 separate times. And I watched as the news media refused to cover the story. Effectively, everybody buried it. And then I realized, my gosh, we're not living in the free society that I thought. Because the story went counter-narrative, because in my sector of the world, all of us were pro-immigrant, and this indicated that immigrants weren't the problem, but that the visas were being used to flood the market, because this was a story of betrayal by the government against the workers, because the claim was that Americans couldn't do science and engineering, when I think we are absolutely one of the very best systems for educating people in science and engineering. The whole thing was topsy-turvy. And I think that institutional betrayal was the thing that hooked me on the idea that I didn't know how deep the rabbit hole went.